Suppose, then, a capital speech in Shakespeare never seen before, and yet read by a child of 8 years old, with all the pathetic energy of a Garrick. Let it be conceived likewise that the same child is reading, with a glance of his eye, 3 different comments on this speech tending to its illustration, and that one comment is written in Greek, the second in Hebrew, and the third in Etruscan characters. When all this is conceived, it will convey some idea of what this boy is capable of. A well-ordered mind appears to be made for a virtuous soul and sweet ways. Experience has verified this in several great artists, and little Mozart supplies a new proof of it. His heart is as sensitive as his ear. He has modesty such as is rare at his age, and rare combined with such superiority. It is truly edifying to hear him attribute his talents to the giver of all things, and to conclude from this, with a charming candor and an air of the most intimate conviction, that it would be unpardonable to pride himself on them. Hello, my name is David Ferris. I'm a professor of music history at Rice University, where I teach courses on a wide variety of music, ranging from the Baroque to the classical style to 19th century opera to jazz. One particular interest of mine is the relationship between the lives and careers of composers and the music that they wrote. And Mozart is a particularly apt subject for this because he lived at a time when the music business was in a state of transition, and he lived a very interesting life, much of which is documented in a series of lively and often entertaining letters. The 2 descriptions that you just heard of Mozart were written when he was at the absolute height of his fame, in the course of his family's grand tour of Europe. This was a 3.5-year long trip that began when Mozart was 8 years old, and during which they met kings, queens, nobility, and amazed absolutely everybody with Mozart's prodigious musical talents. He also almost died of scarlet fever in the course of this trip, and if he had, then he would be remembered today mostly as a bizarre footnote to music history, something out of Ripley's Believe It or Not. Fortunately, however, he did not die. He went on to become one of the great composers of Western music. And 15 years after this tour ended, in 1781, he finally got the courage and the self-confidence to quit a job that he was very unhappy with and to try and strike out and make a career for himself in Vienna. This is from a letter that Mozart wrote to his father on May 9, 1781, in which he describes his last conversation with Archbishop Colloredo of Salzburg, who had been his employer for the past several years. Well, when I entered the room, his first words were, Archbishop, "Well, young fellow, when are you going off?" I intended to go tonight, but all the seats were already engaged. Then he rushed full steam ahead without pausing for breath. I was the most dissolute fellow he knew. No one served him so badly as I did. I had better leave today, or else he would write home and have my salary stopped. I couldn't get a word in edgeways, for he blazed away like a fire. I listened to it all very calmly. He lied to my face that my salary was 500 gulden, called me a scoundrel, a rascal, a vagabond. Oh, I really cannot tell you all he said. At last my blood began to boil. I could no longer contain myself, and I said, "So your grace is not satisfied with me?" "What? You dare to threaten me, you scoundrel? There is the door. Look out, for I will have nothing more to do with such a miserable wretch." At last I said, "Nor I with you." "Well, be off." When leaving the room, I said, "This is final. You shall have it tomorrow in writing." Tell me now, most beloved father, did I not say the word too late rather than too soon? Just listen for a moment. My honor is more precious to me than anything else, and I know that it is so to you also. Do not be the least bit anxious about me. I am so sure of my success in Vienna that I would have resigned even without the slightest reason. And now that I have a very good reason, and that too thrice over, I cannot make a virtue of it. Au contraire, I had twice played the coward, and I could not do so a third time. Mozart was right that he would make a great success in Vienna, at least for a few years. In the early 1780s, he became a star as a piano player, giving many concerts, arranging subscriptions, and writing about 14 or 15 concertos in the course of a couple of years. In the second half of the decade, 1786 onwards, he wrote some of the greatest comedic operas in the history of the genre. In my course, Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, Music, Letters, and Life, each class will begin with an episode in Mozart's life and then continue with a piece of music that is connected to that episode. We will cover a range of genres and forms that Mozart worked in, including string quartet, piano sonata, symphony, piano concerto, and opera. And you'll get to know Mozart, the person, as well as it's possible to get to know anyone who lived 250 years ago. And you'll also come away with a new appreciation and understanding of his music.